Hey guys, Darren Collier, Coach of Wise Rushing Pods, and welcome back to the round 2 trade mode video. On today's episode, we will be discussing all of the popular trade options that you should be considering this week, giving my top 5 for each and every category. So let's quickly get into it. I don't have a huge amount of time to record today, so straight into Harry Perriman. He is the number one trade out target this week with 15.8k coaches trading him out already. I think that's absolutely correct. Obviously, on the bye this week, he dropped two very bad scores in the last fortnight, 49 and 43. He's dropping a huge amount of cash, even though he won't lose you cash this week. I still think it's wise to move him on because he does have a huge amount of money on his head. So you want to get those points on field as best as possible. So yeah, there's plenty of options that you can look to trade him out to. If you have a bit of DPP, it may make it a little bit easier to move him sideways or even downgrade him a little bit. But yeah, we'll get into the upgrade the trading targets pretty shortly. Will Day is number 2 on the list with 12.4k coaches trading him out this week. Again, I really don't mind this option. Break even to 43. He has put up back-to-back 70s in the last fortnight. He now has a Bedford tag coming his way this week, which probably scores a 60 or not, close to a 70, you would think. So yeah, he's going to average 30 to 40 in the next 2 weeks because he's not going to play next week with the bye. And then he even runs into the likes of Drew from Port Adelaide and then possibly O'Connor at the Cats before going on a decent run. So if you're not trading him out this week, I would be holding him for the next month is probably what you're looking at, because then you're probably going to lose a bit of money this week, and potentially trading him out next week is only going to get you nothing at the end of the day, and people may even look to bring him in when he plays against the Eagles in Richmond, when he goes on that bit of a nicer run. So there's no point trading him at that point. You might as well hold him through and just fingers crossed he may put up some decent scores for you there. But yeah, I'll be looking to move him on this week, I reckon, and I recommend you do the same. Garcia's up there in terms of a trade out target because he was the sub on the game in the game on the weekend. Does have Richmond Tigers this weekend, so it is a very nice matchup. But again, you can't be holding players that are priced as high as he is, that are the sub. So he needs to absolutely go. I guess you can sort of wait to see what teams sort of show to see if he's potentially going to be the sub again. I don't see why they'd change a winning system. Ross Lyon's usually pretty consistent with those sort of things when they are winning. So, yeah, I highly expect he's probably going to be the sub again this week. So, he's one that can definitely be moved. Ollie Hollands, yeah, definitely needs to go after that poor score of 48 on the weekend. After a little bit more consideration, though, I did sort of put the pieces together to see that he was playing more of a lockdown defender role on Dylan Moore. We obviously know Hawthorn have a lot of small forwards that they needed to play a bit more accountable, so he wasn't able to get as open as we would normally like to see him in that halfback role, which we sort of saw against Richmond, only scoring 72 though. So if you're in the world like me where I'm considering holding him this week, I don't think he will drop you too much coin. I'm expecting him to hit close to a 70 this week, playing against Western Bulldogs and much nicer matchup. I don't think he's going to be playing a accountable role very much at all in this game. I'm thinking about the small forwards of the Bulldogs. I'm thinking Jones, Vandermeer, and a McNeil. So I don't know about you. I don't really rate many of them at all, so I don't think they're going to be too much of a worry. So I don't think he's going to be too accountable in that game. So I think he'll be able to free up and get plenty of ball on the halfback, and potentially, yeah, I'm not going to cross my fingers and toes too much, but looking at the run, it would be great if he could just somehow pop a decent score and then potentially be a hold for a little while longer if he can show the true potential of that role. Probably being too optimistic there, but yeah, I'm confident this week that if I hold him, he won't lose too much cash. So I don't think he's the most of my problems, but he's still a big problem if you don't have many other problems besides that in your team. Jason Horne-Francis, I wouldn't be trading out. You picked him to be a top line guy. Yes, he's not performing at the standards that you expect so far this season, especially against one easy matchup with a 62. He's just not playing the role that we sort of expected. He sort of had like 50% CBAs, I think. I'll quickly go check that. 41% CBAs on the weekend, and that was because the likes of Lacoste just got injured, so they needed another forward up there. So that meant Horn Francis pretty much stayed in the goal square for majority of the game. He could have hit, but he hit an 80 quite easily. He passed off 2 goals. He handballed one over in the goal square. So that should have been +9 quite simply. And then another one I think he passed off as well. So that should have been an 80 plus all the free kicks that gave away. Should have been close to a 90. But you're going to expect these free kicks against with Jason Horne-Francis when he gets in this sort of mood. So you can't allow him to get away with it too much. But I'm not looking at wasting a trade to get him out and then potentially get him back in at a later stage. He still has a pretty good run for a long period of time, so I'm expecting him to bounce back pretty quickly. I'm hoping that they bring in Finlayson to be that extra forward, and that means Horne-Francis can go back in the middle. But yeah, I'm not looking at trading Horne-Francis at this point in time. I think we have bigger issues, even though he may lose a bit of coin this week. It's just one you gotta suck it up. People are gonna trade him in a lot cheaper than what a lot of people have started him at. So I'm not looking to trade him out there, and I don't recommend anyone else to do it. Finn O'Sullivan, I don't mind trading him out. He's got a break even of 31. He's not really showing his true potential as a cash cow for us. He's probably one of your worst rookies that you have at the moment. So if you're looking to jump to another rookie that is going up cash really quickly, then I absolutely don't mind that at all. So he can go if you're in that luxurious position. Getting cash is definitely the priority. It's so far obviously this start of the season, so that's a great move. Riley Sanders is definitely one up there that you should be considering to move on, but probably not as high a priority as those other guys. It's probably a good time to actually throw up my main trade-out targets this week, which, quickly going through, is Harry Perryman, Will Day, Hollins, Garcia, then Sanders at the bottom. Sanders is doing enough to be okay without being amazing. He's not making you money, but he's not losing money at this stage, even though he's not playing the role that we sort of expect. He's just sort of a nothing pick at this stage. Very similar to a Jaden Short, as I've spoken about. He's not doing really anything for us, but he's just being an okay scorer there. So he's not an absolute trade-out priority, but he probably will drop a poor score very shortly. And then, then he'll be a big target. So be prepared for that, but he's not an absolute trade-out target this week. James Peatling, I think, is a pretty big target to trade out. He's not playing the role that we expect. 41 on the weekend in what was an absolute thrashing. A lot of the other Crows players got amongst the absolute feast of a fantasy points, but he was not able to do anything about that. Didn't really get many touches at all. So he is a failed mid-pricer. I definitely recommend jumping off him pretty quickly. He's got a bit of money on his head, so you can sideways him to a Never or an O'Driscoll pretty simply and save yourself a bit of coin there to go up elsewhere. Matty Roberts, I do not recommend trading out. I think it's a bit of a waste of trade. He's still got plenty of money to make. Scored the 95 on the weekend, break even of 73. You're trading him out, you're not trading him back in. That's just a waste of 2 trades. He's still very highly owned. He still can push that 90, 95 barrier that we sort of expected. He's had pretty tough games to start the year against Hawks, very tough matchup. Brisbane aren't the easiest. Well, Freo probably a bit more of a neutral matchup, so he did well in that game. He does come up against a bit of an easier opponents in the next couple of weeks, so I do not recommend trading him out. I think he does quite well there. Anyone that started Nick Dacos, you should not be trading him out. You started him as a premium. You're not wasting a trade getting him out, then potentially getting him back in a couple weeks' time when we all jump on him. He's got Carlton next week after the bye. Probably gets a bit of attention from a Hewitt, but not a huge tag. The James Jordan tag after that, which will probably keep him pretty restrictive. Probably not too much attention in the Brisbane line, so that's probably when we start to see a bit more of a pickup, and a lot of people will trade him in there because he is gotten a bit cheaper than what he started at, as he's dropped 66k throughout the season. So yeah, I would be surprised if people start to jump on then, but he does probably have a bit of a Durham tag and then an O'Connor tag coming his way after that as well. So it's a bit up in the air, but when we sort of trade him in, but he is getting quite cheap for us, and yeah, I just think you ride it out if you own him. He's going to put up good scores for you, but he's also going to drop some pretty bad scores throughout the season. So you ride it out. He's going to be a good scorer for you, so don't worry about it. Anyone that started Lloyd Meek, definitely look to trade him out. I think we've got plenty of other options that you're looking to. You're either sidewaysing him to maybe a Luke Jackson if you want to have like a 3 week play at it while Sean Darcy is out, or you can upgrade him to the top and go to a Rowan Marshall and be a bit more on the unique side, who is absolutely killing it at the moment. So definitely would be recommending doing that because he is dropping like a stone at the moment, not scoring well at all. Tom Stewart, I would wait for team news to confirm that he is out this week before trading him out. Yes, he dropped 69k on the weekend. Has a super high break even after that 9 score. But I think it's just one you're going to ride out. You liked what you saw in the preseason. You liked the role that he's playing. And I think he can definitely go pretty well in that. And he does still have a decent run coming. So I'd expect him to bounce back pretty quickly. Ride it out. He'll be fine. Don't worry about the cash that's on his head. Unless you're really looking to play an aggressive game, trade him out, getting someone else in that's making money, then, maybe Tom Stewart comes back in at a later date when he's bottomed out in cash. That's a really aggressive move. But if you'd have to be in a pretty luxurious position to be able to do that, in my opinion. Dusty Cameron, very similar to the likes of Lloyd Meek. You've started him as sort of that cash generator. Hasn't sort of worked out for you entirely. He's made 20k over the entire season, so not a huge amount. And now it's probably time to move him on at his buy. So yeah, definitely can be worthwhile trading him out. Similarly with Max Gawn, probably it's tough. It's very tough, this one for me, because he did drop that 63 against a very tough matchup in X. Now he's got Wits coming up against him next week as well. Probably drops another lower score, like an 80 to a 90. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits 100 because it is Max Gawn. He can definitely go big. Obviously, we've had the comments that he is potentially dealing with some personal issues, which the coach spoke about. So I don't know how much to read into that. I probably wouldn't be considering it too much. You picked him as a top 2 ruckman for the year, so my initial thoughts is to just hold him and ride through the bit of a shitter score, and then he'll bounce back. Yes, he'll drop in value, but that's what all premiums do throughout the year. It's pretty common. Every premium's got to do that throughout the year, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. If you're pretty confident that he's going to be a top 2 or top 3 ruckman for the year, then I'd be holding him. If you're not super confident and you think he's sort of past it now, then you could pretty quickly sideways him to the likes of Rowan Marshall, who has a much better run for the next period of time. It does seem like a very luxurious trade, though. I think you have much bigger issues than Max Gawn at this stage. So, yeah, my initial thought is to hold him, but yeah, it's really team dependent on that one. Sam Wick's time to go. He's on his buy now. He's made you the coin. He can go. His break even's creeped up as well. You've made a nice 63k over the first 3 weeks, so you're absolutely taking that. Ben Hobbs, anyone that started him, he has not performed as you expected after his preseason performance, so he can go. Harvey Langford, yep, rookie fix up there. Isaac Heaney, who started him, he hasn't started well at all. He's dropped a bit of coin, so yep, you can jump off him. Dan Houston, very similarly, dropped 42k. Hasn't done what you sort of expected it, so yeah, he can go. Dylan Moore's an interesting one. Yeah, hitting the scoreboard, kicked 6 goals throughout the season, but just not getting the marks that we sort of normally expect from him, as we saw last season. So obviously dropped a fair bit in coin already, 69k for the season. Only going to drop more. So if you're sidewaysing him to a Rankin, it's a very luxurious position because you do expect Moore to potentially jump up and be a potential top 6 forward for us for the year if he can get back to his 90 ways, which he has been for the last 2 years. So you'd be pretty confident on saying that. Does have a tough matchup though in GWS this weekend, and then does go into the bye. So it's very luxurious, but I probably wouldn't be doing it. But yeah, very team dependent again on that one. Wouldn't be trading up Lucas Camporelli. He's got a 6 break even. Unless he's dropped, then there's a potential, but I think he'd be fine. Just fingers crossed he doesn't get subbed again this week. He's got plenty of money to make. Sam Taylor, if you held him last week, yep, absolutely trade him out. I didn't include him in my major trade targets for that sort of reason. They should already moved on. Yeah, Sid Draper, unfortunately, probably can go as well. Not really making any money because he just isn't getting the time on ground. Just being that super sub coming in late in third quarters as well. And I think that sort of does it, to be honest. That's coming into very more unique players. Now we'll move into the main trade-in targets. I'll just get rid of that. That one, sorry. Cut my audio out there for a second. So, the main trade-in target. So, Ted Closey is number one traded-in target so far, with 9.7k coaches trading him in. And honestly, when I watched this game, I barely noticed him. I don't know why. He just seemed to... Obviously, started as a sub. Scored the 91 points, negative 14, break even. 16 touches, 6 marks, 4 tackles, kicked 2 goals, and 1 behind. So I had to do a bit more of a deep dive on what this kid is about. He is 20 years old. He's played 4 games in his career now. All of them have been in the green vest. But looking at his junior numbers, the VFL numbers from last year, he is a massive scorer. Consistently averaging sort of 120, had a ceiling of 140s. He's a big tackler, but he's not playing the role that you'd expect him to play, where it's going to be super conducive to scoring. He's playing a small forward role, sort of that Sean Manor sort of role that we sort of see him do all the time. So his job security is a bit hay going, with Bailey Smith potentially coming back in this week. Jack Martin even maybe coming in. There's a lot of question marks around what his job security is going to be like. I don't know where Sean Manor is at the moment as well. Like, why isn't he playing? But a lot of question marks about why he come in and why he scored so well. So I would be a bit skeptical about just automatically selecting him, assuming he's going to get a lot of game time over the next week. He could always be the sub next week. But I do think this performance should have broken him into the side in the best 22. You'd think so. And he's shown scoring capacity. So if he's named and he's not named sub, then absolutely jump on it. It's going to be a good cash generation, so I don't mind it there. He's going to absolutely be killed it. But yeah, I do probably have a few other rookies ahead of him, like a Lindsay and an Ashcroft, that I think have much better job security, even though they are much highly priced at 438k. Similar break even. I just think he's got much better job security and shown to have a much more consistent role. Even though it's on the wing, he just knows how to rack it up. He loves the 1-2, and yeah, loves a bit of a cuddle too. So if you don't have Lindsay, he's still my number one target this week. Similarly with Ashcroft, who isn't on this list currently, because I think most people have him now. So he's there as well. Mitch Nevitt is definitely one I recommend trading into this week. He is killing it so far. He's got a very nice role. He loves a cuddle in the midfield. Looks to be like the number 1 or number 2 sort of midfielder at Geelong at the moment. I can show you his CBA numbers here. So it's 63% time in the midfield on the weekend. They've got a 4-man sort of midfield at the moment. Dangerfield did come in a bit later in that game just to try and win the game for them, but he wasn't able to do anything for them. So I don't think that's going to be something that continues. He'll continue to be a low sort of midfielder guy as they move past him. So I really like Mitch Nevitt. I think he is good at doing what he does. One thing I really enjoyed was that Sam De Koning loves to tap to him. Like, he clearly has a game plan to get it to Mitch Nevitt. He's that main distributor to maybe a Holmes or a Stewart, who's a much better kick that kicks into the forward line, right? So when you're talking about the midfield mix, he's clearly that in and under player, so he's going to get lots of touches, and he's also a really good tackler. So he's going to get a lot of +4s. Again, this weekend there's a bit of weather that is forecasted, so that's going to be a bit of a sloppy game. I think there's about 40 to 60 mil projected for that day. We'll see how that sort of pans out. But that's going to mean a lot of +4s for Nevitt on the weekend. An 8 break even. He's probably still got 200 to 250k to make. I think he's priced at about 60 at the moment. So yeah, he's got a lot of money to make. He's going to be points on field for you. So I'd probably have him above the likes of Ted Closey in terms of trade-in targets. If you're looking for I guess a comparison there, even though they are 200k difference, I think Mitch Never's going to provide you much more of a consistent points on field while getting that cash generation at the same time. Whereas a Ted Closey obviously doesn't have the job security that we're sort of expecting at this point in time, with a few other guys that are looming around. So really like Mitch Never. I'm looking at bringing him in this week. Joel Frazier, if you didn't have him or you're looking to just trade out a Perryman, he's a pretty much straight swap from Perryman, so I don't mind that. He's playing a pretty decent role in the midfield, not like sole midfield, but some midfield time, more than what we sort of expected, sort of that 33% over the weekend. So yeah, definitely don't mind him there. Making good money. He's got break even of 48. Decent stretch of games, not super hard, not super easy, so he'll be a decent cash generator and points on field. And I think we have limited options back there in the defensive half at this point in time, so I don't think I'm too keen on too many others. So he is probably a good just one to jump on with with the rest of us and just ride it out. Connor O'Sullivan is probably my lowest in terms of rookie downgrades this week, just because he's already priced at 365. He is a key defender for the Cats. So yeah, I just don't know how sustainable it's going to be. They obviously like to chip it around a fair bit back there, so that's the reason why he's scoring so well. Scored the 75 on the weekend, but it was against St Kilda. He does come up against a bit of a tougher matchup this week against the Lions, so it is a bit more expensive to pay. But if you're struggling with defender rookies, you're trying to move off a leak or something like that, then I do recommend it, but it is not absolutely necessary. I might as well show up my main downgrade targets, as I've already spoken about majority of them. So Lindsay's number 1, Levi Ashcroft's number 2. I've gone Hall before the likes of Closey just because of I think the job security is a bit better there at the moment. But that could absolutely be interchangeable at this point in time between Hall and Closey. And then I've got O'Sullivan down there at the bottom. If you're looking for a defender rookie, which I don't think many people are looking at that at the moment. So I'm happy to fade him at this point in time. Wanganilira is a pretty good trade-in target this week. Got the Richmond Tigers, so he should have a fruitful matchup there, where he just goes well for you. In the first week you trade him in, he started pretty well with 113 and 101 last week, so averaging about that 107. He's not super underpriced at this point in time. I think he probably has another 50k to go to get to where you sort of want him to be. He's probably fringe best 6 defender, so you want to be confident that he's going to be there or thereabouts, that he can be a hold for majority of the season, if not be a keeper for the rest of the season. So have that in mind. But yeah, he's great value. So I love him as an option there. Don't really need to talk about him too much. He's a great player. People trading in John Dawson, it does seem a bit odd to me. You're paying top dollar. I don't know if you're going to expect to see what we've seen for the rest of the season, but he does have a really good run for the next at least couple weeks for sure. But if you do have the extra bit of coin, I would be mindful to potentially look at trying to hold a bit of coin. Obviously, this time of year, you really want to prioritize value. So yeah, please consider that. Holding about 100k extra definitely wouldn't mind. So if you can go a Rosie over a Dawson, I'd probably go there instead, just because you're saving that 100k. He's probably going to go up a little bit more in value as such, even though you're not really looking at it for that, because again, these guys are probably going to be holds for us for a long time, if not for the season. So you're not really looking at how much they're going to make. It's more the price that you're buying them at, which both of these players, I believe you're paying what's fairly priced, I'd say. Rosie's probably priced at that 105 already, which I expect him to average for the year, whereas Dawson's probably closer to that 110 average already. So you're paying for what you get, even though they're going up in coin. I wouldn't be considering that too much in your factors. You're really just looking to buy in some points. Tom de Koning is an interesting one, again, because it is a short lifespan in terms of the trade-in, because, again, Pitnet is, I think 2 weeks away, or 3 weeks away from memory. He is 2 to 3 weeks away. Bang on there. So you've probably got a 2 or 3 week lifespan of De Koning the next couple of weeks, but he does have 3 very good matchups coming, so it's tricky. If you're looking to sideways a Lloyd Meek, or it's like sort of like a halfway home for Lloyd Meek up to Sam De Koning, or even Darcy Cameron up to De Koning, and then in 3 weeks' time you trade him out to the likes of a Gorn or a Marshall at that stage. I don't mind it there, but you want to try and avoid using too many trades in the ruck line. It's a very dangerous game. I got trapped in it last year where I've used 4 or 5 trades in the ruck line. You really want to get limited to probably 2. So yeah, please keep that in mind. If you don't have the coin to go to the top, then I don't mind deconing as a halfway home for now. That is making good coin, and then it'll be a small jump from deconing to the top dogs very shortly. Tom Powell's a great option as well. Definitely a good sideways option from the likes of Will Day. If you're looking to trade him out, he's absolutely killing it so far this season. Tougher matchups coming. Sydney will be an interesting one to see if they tag anyone. I don't think it'll be Powell. That would be a very weird decision. More than likely it'll be a Sheasel, who's a bit more damaging. Just really didn't get it done this weekend with his score with the tackles and marks like we're usually used to seeing. So I'd put that down just a bit of a blip in his scoring there. He should be back to scoring plus 100 ways on the weekend. So he's making good money. He's up 67k already so far this season. So definitely one to jump on if you have the luxury to do that. Connor Rosie already spoken about. Jack McRae, if you don't have him, I absolutely recommend you do that. I think he was 50% owned to start the season. He comes up against Richmond this weekend, so he will be a massive captaincy option with what we've seen already. So yeah, definitely worthwhile getting him in. He's skyrocketing in price, already gone up 114k. He's going to be, if not F1, in the top 6 quite simply. So yeah, definitely trade him in there if you don't have him. I would not be trading in Sam De Koning this week or ever, honestly, because there is a highly big chance that he goes into the back line a lot more in the coming weeks as they come up against tougher ruckman, and there's potential that Stanley comes into the side. So I would not be trading him in this week. I'd only be going to Freya, if not going down to another couple other smaller defenders like we've seen here, Farrell and Salem as such. So yeah, I would not be going Sam De Koning at all. I don't like Finn Callaghan. I don't think I see the value there, even though he does have some nice matchups in the coming weeks. I don't see a huge amount of value. He's probably priced at 80 already after that one match, or after the 2 games he played. He went up 55k, so he was priced at 80. What do you expect him to do? Probably 90 in my opinion. So he's got probably 10 points of value there, and then he's going to be a trade out target. I probably want to seek for that 15 to 20, much more than I'm looking for 10. So he's not high on my priority list, but it's not a bad option. I do think he struggles a little bit this week against the Hawks. I think Nash is probably going to spend a bit more time on him this week, just probably being that like-for-like taller body. So keep in mind for that one. He just doesn't hit the score sheet like I'm expecting. He's plenty of good touches, but he does not hit the marks and tackles. So I'm not hugely keen on it at the stage, but I'm not going to stop anyone trading him in. A couple other defender options in Kane Farrell. He went ballistic on the weekend with 114, kicked the goal, 8 marks, 31 touches. This is sort of what we are wanting to expect from him, to replace that Houston role. That's what we all wanted in the preseason. But I think it was more of just a matchup thing at the stage against Richmond. If he does it again against Essendon, then I'll definitely be more inclined to pick him against St Kilda. So I'm waiting one more week to confirm that that's something to expect, because he's already priced about the 80 mark. So what do you expect him to jump up to? Maybe a 90. Again, is that enough? If he can push 95, then he can push the top 6 defenders. That would be absolutely lovely. But I just don't see him quite there just yet. So yeah, I'm not super keen on that one just yet. Waiting one more week. Similarly with Salem here, obviously he is scoring very well at the moment because May is out and he's taking a lot more kick-ins. I can show you that here with the kick-in stats. He has been the most kick-out stats for the start of the season, along with Jake Bowie. So yeah, he's taking a lot more of those kick-ins without Stephen May. So when Stephen May comes back, which isn't too far away, he potentially drops out a little bit. But he is a good cash generator for the next couple of weeks if you've jumped on. I probably wouldn't jump on at this stage. I just don't see the upside. Like, he probably makes maybe 50 to 100k in the next coming weeks, but then you're going to have to jump off when Stephen May comes back. He's not going to push top six. He's not. He's never been that guy, and he's always been very consistent, sort of that 95 sort of dude. So, yeah, probably not looking there at all. For me, he's very low owned as well, so it could burn you quite quickly. Dane's Walker, I don't mind. It is a bit of a weird time to be paying up for top dogs at this stage. You know, like I said, you really want to be targeting value as much as possible. So, yeah, targeting value is probably the name of the game, where you're getting what you pay for the Dane Zorko. But in saying that, he does have a really nice fixture coming up, like probably the best I've seen in a long time. Probably until round 10 is a really long stretch of massive matchups. Like, Cat's really good match. Oh, I can probably just show you the DFS thing here. Or would it be main kick out takers? For Brisbane, just look at all the green until like round 10 or even round 11 if you want to look at it. Green, 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 green. So it is just amazing. So really the toss-up between, in my mind right now, is am I going Dane Zorko or am I saving the 100k and going to the likes of a Wanganeen-Milera or a Sinclair? And those two have nice matchup this week, but then goes into a couple of tougher matchups. So it's hard to say. I'd rather focus on the nicer matchups, in my opinion, where he can be a consistent sort of 110 guy. Give me those extra 10 points, whereas Cy Wang and Miller may drop 80s or 90s in the coming weeks, and that kills all his cash generation anyways. So I'm probably leaning towards the likes of Zorko at this stage, and he's just going to be a keeper. Yes, there's obviously concerns that he is 36. He may have injury concerns, but he's been consistent for the last year and a half, so I can only base it off that. So I'm leaning towards Zorko at this stage. He's obviously killed it so far this season, averaging 119 in a tough matchup against Sydney, and obviously a really nice matchup against West Coast Eagles, where he had a slow start in that game as well, only scoring 12 points in the first half. So when you consider he scored over 100 points in 3 quarters, we know how big he can go. He can probably hit a couple 150s in the next big stretch of games. So yeah, definitely something I want to be on board on. He's going to be a good captain option as well, so I'm thinking I'm going that way. Getting into a couple more unique options, Saligo. I owned him last year and he burnt me pretty quickly, but he has started like a house on fire. He's kicking goals, good tackler, plenty of disposals. He's sort of that main man in there realistically to be that in and under player. So yeah, don't mind it. He's priced about that 80 at the moment. So if you expect him to be able to go 90, that's probably there or there and about enough, but probably not enough at the same time. You're really just looking to jump on a bit of cash, and then you probably have to move him on at some other stage. So he's a good sideways trade from the likes of Will Day or a Harry Perriman if you have the DPP availability. But there's probably a few more. I'd probably go to a Powell instead of Saligo, just probably a bit more security. He's easily more in the midfield and probably just has a bit more of a ceiling with a bit more of a he's more of a marking and tackling prowess about him, so probably going there instead. Bowie is an interesting one. I know Fantasy Nut started him and it's been a great pick to start, so I absolutely cannot fault him for that. Been great, but again, is it sustainable? I just don't see the evidence of why he's scoring as well as he is at the moment. Has he just taken a bit more of a responsibility back there, more of a natural progression pick? Has had tougher matchups. Obviously, GWS are not easy to score against, so he did well there. North on the weekend, obviously they got beaten, so that's a bit of an interesting pick. So if you're looking for a cheaper defender option, I wouldn't stop you from going from a Jake Bowie, but it is a bit of a riskier pick because I just don't see why he's scoring so well, but he is. So until Stephen May's back, then maybe he's a bit of an option. A bit of a risk. but he is making good amount of cash, already gone up 53k this year, and potentially going to go up another 50k in this week if he can continue scoring his 90s. So, yep, definitely don't mind that one there. Maxwell already spoken about, he's in the top down trade rookies. I think that sort of does it. I think all these guys are pretty straightforward. O'Driscoll, he's been a good mid-pricer. I definitely don't mind jumping on him, but be mindful that Hayden Young is back soon. Luke Jackson is up against West Coast this week, so that should be a very fruitful matchup for him as a solo ruck. He can probably make you a decent amount of coin in the next couple of weeks before Sean Darcy is back, I think in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, 1 week. So maybe don't do it. Actually, he's only 1 week away. I thought he was a few more than that. So maybe not worth it. Actually, yeah. Sorry, I got that wrong. Yeah, so probably wouldn't go there. It's very short term, and then he's probably going to go back to being that solo ruck. But there is potential that Sean Darcy doesn't instantly come back into the side. Obviously, he's had a lot of injury concerns, so there's no guarantee that he's going to come back next week. So maybe get a 2-week stretch out of him, but probably not worth it in my opinion. Cal Daniel, get him. It's as simple as that. Chera is also a good mid-price pick. He's gone well so far this season. As that sort of fourth midfielder for Carlton. He's made 50k so far this season and going to go up more. Got a decent run as well coming up, so definitely don't not mind trading him in if you've got that luxury. But again, it's just a question: are you going a power, a Saligo, or a Chera? I'd probably go with the likes of Power, Chera, and Saligo in my opinion, or sort of that in that price range. Sinclair's an interesting one because I was pretty bullish on what he was able to do in the preseason. He would spend a lot of my time in there, but I think it's just the injury concerns. Obviously, didn't came in round one, bit underdone, but he still played a lot of game time, and he hasn't really missed a beat. Kicked 2 goals on the weekend to score his 114, so he probably hasn't shown his absolute best just yet to hit those ceiling scores that we sort of expect. Probably does it this weekend against the likes of Tigers, but then does have some tougher matchups, and he would be fringe sort of best 6 defender. So again, you want to be confident that he's going to be around that mark. Already priced around that 101 sort of average already. So you want to be confident that he can push probably 5 points above that to be a worthwhile. Realistically, you're paying for what you're going to get at this stage, so you really want to be confident that he can push that up. So yeah. And really, the next guys are all pretty straightforward. So now I just want to quickly summarize all the different lines that you should be looking at. So starting with the defenders, if you're looking for a defender option, I've got Joel Frazier at number 1. I think you just join the party. He is doing really well. He's bumping up an average, and his price is skyrocketing at this stage. So worth jumping on him there. He's got a role change, which is really nice. And from what I've heard, the Western Bulldogs aren't likely to have anyone back for a little while longer. Bontempelli's still 3 to 5 weeks, and the likes of Taylor Adams had a setback with his calf as well. So still 3 to 4 week stretch of Frazier in the middle, which is really nice. He can put up some decent scores there for us. So I think he's there at number 1. I've got Dane Zorko at number 2. It doesn't give me a huge amount of confidence, but like I said, he's got such a good run. He could put up some massive scores that could really get you away from the competition, just paying that little bit extra for that extra bit of security. So I definitely don't mind him there. Number 3, I've got Wayne Malira, just saving the extra 100k. Has a great matchup this week. He's probably top 6 defense this year, with Newman out for the year, so he's definitely pushed into there. Sinclair falls just behind him just because we haven't seen a huge amount from him so far this season in terms of high scoring. He scored the 90 and the 114 with 2 goals, so he'll probably be that 100 to 105 averaging player and be very fringe. So yeah, don't mind him there. Just you want to have a bit more confidence, like I said. And then if you're looking for a bit more unique, risky options, if you're not looking to pay up for top dollar and you already have the likes of Frazier, then I already spoke about Bowie, and the likes of Farrell are probably there as well. That I would be worthwhile trading into, but like I said, are a bit more on the riskier side of things that you're going to have to trade out as well. So that hopefully covers off the defenders. if we'll move on to the midfielders now. So Tom Powell is my number one trade-in target if you can get to him at that higher expensive price. The main reason he's up there in terms of my number one is just because I think he can push being a long-term keeper for us for a long time, because he potentially averages 100 to 105 and be an absolute star for us for a long period of the season. So I really like him there, even when the likes of a George Hewitt, is it George Wardwell comes back for North and slots in as that sort of number two. He is due back in 2 to 3 weeks' time. I still think Power gets a big chunk of CBAs because they are sharing it amongst a fair bit. So you can see here, Power's got 48% at the moment. So when Wardlaw comes back, it probably affects the likes of Will Phillips, who drops out probably entirely, and maybe the likes of Parker probably drops out a little bit as well. So I don't think it affects his role as much as what we sort of expect. So I have no concerns there, and I think he can be really good. So he's my number one target, making good amount of money, and like I said, could be a keeper for a while. Mitch Nevitt is number two, just with how much money he's making, 200, 250k. He's putting up consistent 80s to 100s. He's got a great role, good job security. There's no one coming in from Geelong that is really going to take his role at this point in time unless they really start to move the magnets around. So, yeah, I just think he's going to be better. He should have scored more on the weekend as well, something I should have touched on. He only had the 5 points in the final term where he played mostly forward. I think they were just trying to win the game. They threw the magnets around a little bit, which is to be expected. I don't think he really did anything wrong to say that he should have been moved out of there. So I think he would definitely go back in there next week, and he should be fine to continue what he's doing. So really like what he's doing there. O'Driscoll, if you don't have him, is pretty straightforward. He is making good money, really low price. Where is he? Down there. Break even of 14. West Coast Eagles this week. Then goes into the Bulldogs and Richmond. So really good run of games. So probably better than the likes of Mitch Nevitt, but I just like the role of Mitch Nevitt over the likes of Driscoll, particularly with Hayden Young coming back. Probably gets pushed out of that midfield a little bit more, because currently he is getting a fair bit of CBAs. He didn't have any CBAs on the weekend. He had a lot on the first week, but none on this week. So we're still able to put up some decent scores on the weekend. So yeah, I think he's still a decent one, but just that role may not be super consistent. Adam Chera is down there at number 4, just with making some good money at that sort of similar price to Tom Power. And then I've got Rosie and Dawson at the bottom there, just if you're looking to pay up for a premium, if you have the extra spare cash, just lock them away for the year. I'll probably Rosie over Dawson, just because you're saving that extra bit of coin. Probably has a bit better of a run, I would say. So Essendon, St Kilda. Hawks, bit of tougher one. Maybe gets a bit of a tag against Sydney, then a nicer stretch after that again. Whereas a Dawson, where is he? There he is. Has North this week. St Kilda. It's very, very even, but you're probably just saving that extra 100k from a Dawson to a Rosie that can do very similar. So I don't know. Yeah, it depends on who you like more at the stage. So yeah, it's very even in my opinion. So see who you want to go with there. Probably, in my opinion, what your tiebreaker could be in that situation is look what you're trying to do for next week. If you're looking to jump off another mid-price and potentially go up, then that extra 100k could be really useful for you. Or you're looking just do a bit of a rookie fix up, maybe one up, one down, and you're going to have the cash anyway, then maybe just spend up and go to the top guy that you can if you don't need the money, or you already have too much money in the bank. So have that in your considerations. We'll move over to the rucks now. It's pretty straightforward. If you're having ruck issues, if you're not having the likes of Cherry or De Koning, then you're probably just going straight to Royal Marshall this week. Obviously, he has bottomed out in coin. As I've spoken about, he is down 66k, I think, for the year. So obviously had that round 1 bad score where he's playing full forward, but has come back as the main ruck and is absolutely dominating, and he's got an easy matchup for the next 2 weeks particularly, so he will go really well there. And he's probably not going to get any cheaper than what he is now. So make the jump now if you don't have him in your plans or you've got some rock trouble. So it's pretty straightforward, in my opinion. And then to finish off, you got the forwards. Jack Macrae is number 1. If you don't have him, he probably goes 150 this week, so you're going to need to jump on that. Isaac Rankin's there, number 2. I don't see him getting rested again this week. Obviously, they're just going to manage their players, so he's had his turn now. He should be fine to go for a little while longer, and he was on track to be 100 on that game. He's going to make some decent coin if he can continue his scoring at 100 rate. So he's going to be top 6 forward, so really like him as an option. Bailey Smith, if he plays, is definitely worthwhile jumping on at that lower break even of 21. We expect he's going to be top 6, as we all know. Scored the 126 on the round 1, so yeah, definitely want to jump on that. Then a couple mid-price options that I sort of found that moved into the halfback sort of intercepting role is Anthony Caminiti. I'll pop that one in because he's so lowly owned. He scored the 83 on the weekend after moving into the halfback. So he's got, again, wrench spin this week, so if you're looking for a cheaper option, definitely don't mind going him there. And then also a Marek also moved into the halfback after not playing as a sub and scored the 74. So I probably have Anthony above the likes of Marek, but Marek is 100k cheaper. So take that as a rule. I'm also just avoiding West Coast players entirely because they're not going to score consistent, big numbers for us, as we all know. So hopefully that sort of covers it today. Hopefully you got some input. There's a lot of different possibilities and it's really team dependent at this point in time. Trades so far haven't really changed too much. I've just got Will Day to Never at this point in time, just really looking to jump off all day, but I'm still tossing up whether to trade out the likes of Harry Perriman to the likes of Zorko or a Wangani Malira, or even potentially holding Perryman and then trading out a Hollands to the likes of a Ted Closey, but then that does leave me a lot of money on my head. Or do I go to a Tom Powell instead at this point in time? So a lot of different options. I'm just still waiting those up. I will try and let you guys know what I'm doing before I go ahead and do it. So, yep, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Please leave a like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for Captain's video, and we get teams tomorrow, so look out for that. See you then. Bye.